So we get these calls. We get these calls, and I mean the divine call, and it might be to be something, to have some purpose in your life. And it's various, it can be teacher, it can be a housekeeper, it can be an artist, a musician, it can be a minister, whatever it is, but it's a divine call that you know that I'm called to do something purposeful in my life and in this world. And so I'll say with a caveat, new members have shown up in a various ways as far as I want to be more, I want to be a part of this community. And one of the criterias for being a member of the church now, which is different over the years, is you have to give a Sunday talk to become a member. Okay, so no. So no. That would make people run for the parking lot and get to their car real quick. Reverend Sandra's here. She's like, what? I thought you were increasing membership, not running people out the door. No, because we know in seminary, it was like, my first talk is going to be, I don't know if I can even say yes to this. But we have a young man that's a part of our church, Chris Cahill, that has had on his heart for quite a while, that has said something else is stirring inside me. And if you know him, he's got a lot of energy, yes? But also another message that keeps saying, I need to bring this out and bring this forward. So as a student, which we all said in this community on two various occasions, that the top two things this community wanted was they wanted a place of prayer and a place of education. And that aligned with me also. And so we've had classes, and Chris has been doing one-on-one independent studies with me also, especially around homiletics and speaking. And I want to say, for the minister to say, okay, here's your first Sunday, it's coming up, are you ready? It kind of makes people go, I'm not so sure. But Chris kept working and working over the last probably 6 or 8 weeks and just saying, it's still here and I've got something to share. So will you help me welcome for their very first message, probably lost some sleep last night, but to lift up love and hold the sacred space for our new member, Chris Cahill. And love one another was something that was on his heart, and what kept playing in his mind was the song Raheem just played. And I thought, generationally, how do you even know that song? But it was something that was on his mind, and I said, let's make that happen to give you a great introduction for your very first message. So yours.
Wow. Thank you so much, Reverend Doug. Thank you so much, congregation. What a beautiful day it is today, and a deeply significant day it is for me today, as this is my first time ever getting to share something that has been festering on my heart for quite a while, and I believe is core to what we stand for here and what we seek to represent and bring forth into the world. I want to establish the message today on a core premise that love is arguably the most powerful idea in the world, and arguably the most disruptive force in the world. And the weeks that I spent working with Reverend Doug, there was a lot of kind of vigor, a lot of zeal, a lot of enthusiasm around this idea that, in a world that's characterized by such contrast, such division, such tension between, opposites in so many domains, how can we bridge those gaps to really bring us back together to this core idea of unity, the entire idea that this church, this community exists to embody and represent in the world. And so it started off with a lot of enthusiasm, like, Reverend Doug, we just gotta love. We just gotta love. We just gotta, get people together, and people just have to understand, to look past differences and come together. But I gave Reverend Doug just a little bit of a heart attack this morning when I let him know, hey, Reverend Doug, by the way, I woke up, like last night I was tossing and turning. I woke up very early this morning after, I've been doing a little bit of traveling and completely reworked the whole thing. To bring us into like a very fundamental idea. So it's one thing to say, hey guys, we got to get together, we just got to love. But it's another thing to actually like bring that into the how and the essence, like the source of where that really begins. And that core idea, you all might have heard before, do unto others as you would have done unto yourselves, right? But it really starts, with first, treating yourself how you would like to be treated. For each of us can only effectively have the effect on the world in a genuine way that emanates from a very real place within. And so if we don't first start with the relationship with ourselves, how can we authentically show up and relate to the world around us? So I'll give you guys a little bit of a heads up. This message will have its deep moments, but I personally believe it's deeply transformative. And I personally believe profound if we can connect with it and if we can endure some of those points of tension to really experience what is on the other side. So I thank you guys. Thank you. So I'd like to start the message today with a question. When was the last time that you were genuinely kind to yourself? Not the last time you treated yourself, maybe got your nails done or got yourself a nice little Five Guys. Not the last time you took a day off, but the last time you caught yourself in the middle of some small failure. Something you said, something you forgot, something that you feel like you should have done better. And instead of the usual voice, you spoke to yourself in the way that you would speak to someone you love. For some of us, we have to think back years. Some of us have never done it at all. I am foremost among the guilty. And I want to suggest to you all this morning that this, right here, is why the world looks the way that it does. We are living in a time that feels more divided than anything most of us have ever known. Turn on the news, division. Open your phone, division. Sit down at the dinner table with the people that you love most, and somehow, division has found its way there too. We are told who to stand against, what to defend, where to draw the line. And if we're honest, most of us are tired. Not from the work of living, but from the fact that sides even have to exist in the first place. So what do we do? Well, I would like to propose that Scripture gives us an answer. For it is written in 1 John chapter 4, verse 8, that God is love. Very clearly, not philosophically, but most essentially, that God is love. And in John chapter 13, verse 35, Jesus tells us that by this you shall know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. Not by being right, not by winning, not by having the correct position on the correct issue at the correct moment. No, but by love. The answer, my brothers and sisters, to the state of the world as it exists today is, in fact, love. But I have to be careful with that word, because love, in many senses, has gotten a little soft. And when I stand here and tell you that love is the answer, I'm not talking about just being nice. I'm not talking about smiling at the person that cuts you off in traffic. I'm not talking about good old Southern hospitality, right? Baking brownies for the neighbor who gets under your skin. That, my friends, is politeness. And while politeness is in fact good, it is the love beneath any gesture that we could actually make that actually heals. The love Jesus is pointing to in John chapter 13 is not a simple feeling or a performance. It is a fire we carry. It is the kind of love that refuses to close when the world gives it every reason to. The kind that stays soft in a hard room. The kind that will not mirror hatred, no matter how loud hatred gets. That is the love that changes things. And I want to tell you the truth about that love. Most of us cannot do it. Not because we don't want to. Not because we don't believe in it. We cannot do it because we're trying to give away something that we ourselves do not have. Paul writes in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 that love is patient, love is kind, love keeps no record of wrongs. Love keeps no record of wrongs. And when we hear that, a lot of times we think of someone else, someone who might have wronged us, someone we are still holding something against. But I want each of us to be honest with ourselves for just a moment. The record that you keep most faithfully, the one you have kept the longest, the one you have never once closed, is it against them? Or is it against yourself? The thing you said 10 years ago that still makes you flinch. The version of you from the worst season of your life that you still will not let off the hook. The parent you didn't become. The partner you didn't become. The person you told yourself you'd be by now and you aren't. Most of us have been carrying that ledger for so long, we don't even notice it anymore. We just notice that we are tired, that we are short with the people we love, that when the world asks us to open, something in us keeps closing. That ledger, my brothers and sisters, is the reason love runs dry. You cannot pour from a cup that you refuse to fill. And you will not fill the cup until you forgive yourself for not already being full. I want you to do something with me right now. Just for a moment. Just for a moment. Just for a moment. Think of one thing about yourself that you have not forgiven. Don't announce it. Don't explain it. Just let it come to the surface. You know the one. Now I want you to hear this. And I want you to hear it as if your Creator is saying it to you. Because in fact, your Creator already is. Everything that you have been through, every dot and tittle of your entire life experience up to this point was entirely a part of your becoming. I have already forgiven it. And the only person still holding on to it is you. Put it down. You don't have to earn the right to put it down. You don't have to understand it first. You don't have to do it perfectly. Just put it down. And if it comes back to you tomorrow, and it will, put it down again. You see, this is the work. This is the whole work. Because the moment you stop punishing yourself for being human, something in you that has been clenched for years begins to open. And love, real love, flows through. Not because you summoned it, but because you allowed it. Reverend Doug told me that I would go off script, and I told him, no, I wouldn't. But this is me telling Reverend Doug, you were right. I feel very deeply right now to really bring you guys into like the core of what is really like just trying to come through my heart on behalf of each and every one of you all today. We hear so many times, the affirmation, you are enough. You are worthy. You are loved. And a lot of times they just pass over our ears. They put a smile on our face and that might motivate us through an afternoon, or our evening snack. But to relate to ourselves genuinely, in a real way that is deeply connected to the truth of who we are. It's not so much about maybe telling ourselves the things that we think will make us feel good, but actually posturing our hearts and our minds in relation to ourselves. That is the closest to the actual truth of who and what we are. Because a lot of times, you guys might be familiar with the concept of the ego. The ego tries to produce narratives. Oh, well, you're this, or you're that. It tries to produce labels. It tries to produce titles. It tries to fit us in a box. When we look at ourselves in the mirror, we identify ourselves with a certain script. And, some of it might be true, some of it might not be, but how do we know? And I would invite us into exploring the idea that the only true perspective on who and what we are is the perspective that our very Creator has of us. And the closer that we can conform our perspective to the perspective that our Creator has of us, the more that we can not only walk in the truth of that which we are, but the more that we can spring forth and manifest that into the world, activating our ultimate contribution in line with the vision, the purpose, and the plan that our souls came here to express and give forth into the world. Here's really what I want each of us to understand, and I'm not speaking to you guys. This is very much also for myself as well. That when your cup is full, love stops being something that we do. It becomes who we are. We stop performing kindness, and we start overflowing with it. We stop picking sides because we no longer need a side to know who we are. We walk into the same divided world, the same news, the same dinner table, the same person that we cannot stand. And something in us simply will no longer close. Because a full cup doesn't have to try to overflow. It just does. There's a woman named Immaculée Ibigiza. It took me a few times to actually be able to get that one right. Yeah. A little bit of a tongue twister. But during the Rwandan genocide, she hid in a small bathroom for 91 days while her entire family was being killed outside. 91 days in silence, in darkness, in unimaginable loss. Years later, she came face to face with the man who killed her entire family. And she said to him, "I forgive you." The first time I heard that story, I thought, wow, that is a superhuman. That is not something a normal person can do. But I was wrong. Because in that bathroom, in 91 days alone with her own soul, she had connected to something within herself that only could truly come deep within herself. So when the unimaginable thing came, there was nothing left in her for hatred to cling on to. Her cup in this instance was so full that even genocide could not empty it. That is not superhuman. That is what any one of us becomes when we finally put the ledger down. That is who each and every one of us could be by the time we walk out of this room today. Charles Fillmore once said, "Love is the great harmonizer. It makes things one." So here's what I want to send each of us out here with today. The world is going to try to hand us a uniform. But tomorrow, and every day of our lives from here, it will try to hand us a side to take, a person to hate, a reason to close. And we don't have to take it. Not because you're better than the people who do, not because you rose above it, but simply because the cup is full. And a full cup has nothing to prove. The love the world is waiting for does not start out there. It starts in the quiet, private, unglamorous moment when each of us stops punishing ourselves for being human and start relating to ourselves the very way that our Creator has been relating to us this whole time. Unconditionally loving, unconditionally patient, radically and wholly forgiving. So put the record down. Fill the cup. Let it overflow. For we sing it every Sunday. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin in me. Thank you, Unity family. Yeah.